Nice for what? Part 2. Why you keep giving to people who don't deserve you. Alright, so if part 1 didn't hit you a little, this part might. Because now we're not talking about them anymore. We're talking about you. Yeah, I said it. Because it's easy to sit there and be like, people are trash. People take advantage. People don't appreciate me. And listen, some of that is true. But the real question is, why the fuck do you keep letting them? Hi, I'm Margot. Welcome back to The Struggle Continues, the only podcast where we don't have it together, and we're finally okay with that. I'm not a glamorous influencer. I'm not a guru. I'm just somebody who made a lot of questionable decisions and lived to tell the story. Turns out life doesn't end at 50. It just gets messier, louder, and honestly, way more interesting. Listen, I'm out here fighting for my life, trying to get 50 subscribers. So if you've made it this far, just go ahead and subscribe. Join the struggle with me. We're all a little messy here, and honestly, that's the point. People pleasing isn't kindness. Let's call it what it is. A lot of what we label as being nice is actually people pleasing. And people pleasing is not kindness. It's fear. Yeah, I know. Ouch. That one doesn't feel good. But think about it. When you say yes, when you really want to say no, what are you afraid of? Them being mad? Them leaving? Them thinking differently about you? That's not kindness. That's anxiety in an outfit. That's you trying to control how people feel about you by sacrificing how you feel about yourself. And that sucks. That's a losing game every single time. And where does this shit come from anyway? Let's go into a little deep dive. Because this behavior, it didn't just show up out of nowhere. For a lot of us, it started way back. Maybe you grew up in a house where love felt conditional. You had to be good to be accepted. You had to keep the peace to avoid conflict. You were the strong one way too early. So you learned, let me not be difficult. Let me not ask for too much. Let me just make everybody else comfortable. And now you're grown, doing the same thing. Still shrinking, still overgiving, still over-explaining. Because somewhere deep down, you feel like if I don't do all this, they won't stay. But you're not being chosen. You're being used. Some of y'all think they keep coming back, so they must care. No, absolutely not. They keep coming back because you're convenient, because you're available, because you don't require much, because you forgive fast, because you don't hold them accountable. That is not being chosen. That's being used. And listen, I'm not saying they're evil people. I'm saying you're easy access. There's a difference. Don't get caught in the guilt trap. That keeps you stuck. Because the second you start to pull back, you feel bad. You start thinking, am I being selfish? Am I maybe overreacting? Maybe they didn't mean it like that. So what do? You go right back to overgiving, right back to explaining, right back to fixing. Because guilt convinces you that choosing yourself is wrong. But let me tell you something real clear. Guilt is not always a sign that you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it's a sign you're doing something just different and you don't trust yourself. Let's get real honest for a second. Part of the reason you overgive is because you don't fully trust yourself to walk away. Yeah. You see the red flags. You feel the imbalance. You know when something's off. But instead of honoring that, you second guess it. You talk yourself out of it. Because walking away feels scarier than staying with someone that drains you. So you stay. And you keep giving, hoping it'll change. But you gotta stop auditioning for love. You are not an audition. You don't need to prove your worth, earn basic respect, convince people to care about you. That's not your job. If someone can't see your value without you overextending yourself, they're just not your people. And no amount of overgiving is going to make them become your people. The hardest truth, the truth that changes everything, some people only like you when you're easy to use. Sit with that. Because the version of you that doesn't say no, doesn't set boundaries, doesn't challenge anything, that version is comfortable for them. But the moment you evolve, the moment you require effort, the moment you expect them to do the same, oh, now you're too much? Not because you are, but because they can't meet you there. So now the question becomes, are you willing to lose people to finally keep yourself? Because you can't have both. You can't keep abandoning yourself and expect to feel whole. At some point, you gotta stop asking, why don't they love me right? And start asking, why do I keep giving love to people who don't? Thank you for hanging out with me. If you like real talk, bad decisions turned into life lessons, and a little too much honesty, hit another episode. I'll be back next week with more stories I probably shouldn't share, but I will anyway, because let's be honest, the struggle continues. Bye!